Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and in this vlog I am going to have Pinterest choose my reads for me. So I want fall vibes. So I'm gonna get on my Pinterest and I'm going to look up a fall book aesthetic, but I'm hoping to have choose from either books that I already own or books that I have out from the library that are just on hand. So it is going to kind of limit my options, but that's probably kind of a good thing. So I'm going to pull this up on Pinterest. So let's see what I can find. Okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. It's just a picture of somebody holding books, and I'll just show you because it's easier. So on that, there is You Again by Kate Goldbeck, and I do have that one. So that will be book number 1 officially for this vlog, is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I don't remember what it's about, but here we go. Here's another one. The Luminaries by, I'm not sure who that's by, but it is blurbed by Leigh Bardugo, and I love the cover. So I'm going to screenshot The Luminaries because I do actually have that one from the library right now because I can't remember who wrote it. Okay, so that's 2. I'm gonna pick 3 if I didn't tell you before. Ooh, here, perfect. Okay, and then we have The Spellbook of Katrina Van Tassel. I actually just got this one from my sister, and I'm really excited to read it. So let me go and get the books. We have The Luminaries, The Spellbook of Katrina Van Tassel, and You Again by Kate Goldbeck. So let me go and get those. Okay, so actually this is really perfect because there's 2 books that I own and 1 from the library. So first we have You Again by Kate Goldbeck. It says, Ari is a free-spirited, struggling comedian, likes to keep things casual, and never sleeps over after hooking up. Josh, born and bred Manhattanite, has ambitious plans to take the culinary world by storm, to find the one and live happily ever after. After a confrontational first meeting at the apartment of the woman they were both sleeping with, Ari and Josh never expect their paths to cross again. But years later, as they're both reeling from ego-bruising breakups, a chance encounter leads to a surprising connection, friendship. Turns out spending time with your former nemesis can be fun when you're both too sad and miserable to hate each other. And as odd as it seems, they become friends without benefits, finding comfort in late-night Netflix binges, swiping through each other's online dating profiles, and bickering endlessly on their phones across boroughs. It's better than romance until one night the unspoken boundaries of their platonic relationship begin to blur. So this sounds really good. It says that it's inspired by Nora Ephron's When Harry Met Sally. And I've never seen that movie, but I'm really curious to try it. I've heard mixed things about this one, and I picked it up. I don't remember if it was a Little Free Library or the library sale, but I've been wanting to try it, and it definitely has the fall vibes. So that will be the one book that we're reading. The next one is The Luminaries. This is by Susan Dennard, and this one, it says, Hemlock Falls isn't like other towns. You won't find it on a map, your phone won't work here, and the forest outside town might just kill you. Winnie Wednesday wants nothing more than to join the Luminaries, the ancient order that protects Winnie's town and the rest of humanity from the monsters and nightmares that rise in the forest of Hemlock Falls every night. Ever since her father was exposed as a witch and a traitor, Winnie and her family have been shunned, but on her 16th birthday she can take the deadly Luminary Hunter trials, and prove herself true and loyal, and restore her family's good name, or die trying. But in order to survive, Winnie enlists the help of the one person who can train her, Jay Friday, resident bad boy and Winnie's ex-best friend. While Jay might be the most promising new hunter in Hemlock Falls, he also seems to know more about the nightmares of the forest than he should. Together, he and Winnie will discover a danger lurking in the forest no one in Hemlock Falls is prepared for. Not all monsters can be slain, and not all nightmares are confined to the dark. So it sounds really good. It is YA, so I don't read a whole lot of YA anymore, but it is really intriguing, and this is such a beautiful cover. I love this so much. So I'm excited to read it and try it out. And then I still have the note on here from my sister that she has this book as well. She just got it for me and sent it to me in a box. So this is The Spellbook of Katrina Van Tassel, and it's blurbed by Greer McAllister, which I have a couple of her books right here. I really enjoy her books, so that's a good sign. And it says, when itinerant schoolmaster Ichabod Crane arrives in the spooky village of Sleepy Hollow, Katrina Van Tassel finds herself instantly drawn to him despite her family's wishes. Brought together by their mutual love of books and music, Ichabod and Katrina embark on a secret love affair, sneaking away into the woods after dark, all while praying they do not catch sight of Sleepy Hollow's legendary Headless Horseman. That is until All Hallows Eve, when Ichabod suddenly disappears, leaving Katrina alone and in a perilous position. Enlisting with the help of her friend and rumored witch, Charlotte Jansen, Katrina seeks the truth of Ichabod Crane's disappearance, investigating the forest around Sleepy Hollow using unconventional, often darkly magical means. What they find forces Katrina to question everything she once knew and to wonder if the Headless Horseman is perhaps more than just a story after all. This is actually one that I've seen a handful of times around this year, and I'm so excited to try it. I sent a picture of it to my sister, and apparently she'd already gotten it for us, so that's really exciting. And I absolutely love Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp. I think that's like one of his iconic, classic, spooky, funny movies, and so I absolutely love that movie, which is part of the reason that I wanted to pick this one up. So these are the 3 books that I will be reading for this vlog. We have a romance, kind of a spooky romance, magical, I don't even know what you'd call this. And then we have the Luminaries, a YA fantasy type book. So I'm really excited to try these, and I will check back in with you once I have started the first book and can give you my initial thoughts. Good morning, guys. So I started You Again yesterday, and I am up to about 80 pages into it, which is only like chapter 4. And so far, this is following through the years Ari and Josh. And they meet because Josh is dating Ari's roommate. And so he comes over to cook her dinner. The roommate, Natalie, comes over to cook Natalie dinner, but Natalie is running late. She's not there, and Ari is. So Ari lets him in, and they talk and they argue and whatever. And then, like 4 years later, they end up meeting at the restaurant that he is the chef in, and he actually fires her new roommate who works for him, and then they get into a fight there. And then another 3 or 4 years after that, they meet at a New Year's party. So this is just following them through the years that they keep bumping into each other, and they don't like each other. He is a chef. She is supposedly trying to be a comedian. Not that you've seen any of that at this point, other than the fact that it just says, oh, I'm trying to be a comedian and stuff like that. So I don't like this book so far. To be 100% honest with you, I don't like it. I don't like the point of view in this book because it acts like it wants to be from Ari's point of view, and then it acts like it wants to be from Josh's point of view, and then at the same time, like it's all through third person looking at them. So it's really, really weird, and I don't like that. I don't like it. Because you get the insights into, like, their minds and their thoughts and, like, what they want and what they're thinking and whatever. Like, it's going to be from their perspective, but then it's not. It's actually just, like, an outsider looking in that just happens to be able to read their minds. Like, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like the way that it's written. And I don't like the perspective changes because it's so random. You know, because a lot of times in books, when it changes perspectives, it'll be, like, another chapter. For instance, that it'll start a new chapter and move on the story from that point on, being from that person's perspective. This one, on the other hand, rather than doing that, it has, I don't know if you can see that, it has these little symbols right here that look very, very similar, especially when you're reading this and, like, not knowing that it's going to happen. So you have a microphone for her and a spatula for him. Here's one of his. There's the spatula. Focus. So they look really, really similar. And that is what shows that you're changing from his perspective to her perspective and vice versa. So I don't like that because it's really confusing. And because, like, the first time it did it, I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And then I realized what was happening, and it continues to do that. So I'm up to chapter 4, like I said. This is What did I figure last night? So you start out in 2014. Sorry, these chapters are like 30 pages long, so bear with me. So then 3 years later, so 2017, and then another 2 years later, so that's 2019, and then another 3 years after that. So then we're in, what, 2022? So now we've gone from 2014 to 2022 in the first 3 chapters. And I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like it. I don't like Ari. I don't like Josh. I don't like either one of them. And what I've read from her so far, like she says she's a comedian, but she's not really. So now at this point with the New Year's Eve party that they met each other at, she is married to a woman. Josh is in a really rocky long distance relationship that they're trying to make work and trying to figure it out. And like I just don't care. I don't care. So I am going to try to keep reading this even though like I don't really want to. But I am going to try to keep reading this. Hopefully the time jumping will relax and things will actually start to happen and I'll start to give a shit about these characters because as of right now, I don't like either one of them, and right now I don't really want to keep reading this. I don't really care about their story because I don't like either one of them. So it's basically been just a bunch of like arguing and them just sniping at each other and stuff like that. So I don't know, there's just not really a whole lot happening and I just don't really care for this book so far. But I am going to try to continue on with this. I am going to town today. I have some errands to run and I'm going to see about doing some book shopping while I'm in town and kind of just take advantage of the fact that I'm already in town and do something fun because I have a bunch of chores that I need to get done tomorrow and my son has a baseball game, but I am going to read for a little bit and then I'm going to get ready to head out. Either way, I'm going to continue reading you again, see if I change my mind and start to like it more, but as of right now, it's very possible that it's going to be a DNF because right now I don't like it. I've read almost 80 pages of it and I don't like it at all. So we'll see how it goes. And I will check back in with you with my next thoughts. Okay guys, so I am back from town. I tried to read a little bit more of this. I made it up to chapter 6, so just another chapter in this book. I'm 107 pages in, and I'm calling it. I don't like this one. I don't like the characters. I don't like how it's written. I don't care about how they're supposed to become friends. They literally went from hating each other one chapter to being like talking for hours and hours on end and deciding to become besties in a single chapter. Like, how do you do that? Like, no. So I don't want to keep reading this. I'm not going to keep reading this. I'm not enjoying it. I don't want to read this anymore. And so I'm going to quit this one and I'm going to start something else because yeah, I just really don't like this at all. So yeah, I will update you when I pick something new to read. Hopefully I'll like it more than you again. Good morning guys. So it is almost 6:30 and I wanted to update you because I started the Luminaries yesterday and I am up to just over halfway through the book. I am on chapter 23, which is 149 pages into it. And when I first started this book, I wasn't sure if I liked it. I was thinking it was like 3 stars. It was fine. It was nothing amazing. Now I'm getting more into it and I feel like I'm enjoying it even more. Like I got really sucked into it last night. So this book is following Winnie Wednesday. She just turned 16 and she lives in a community of luminaries. And what that means is basically each part of town is like a specific clan for a day of the week. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And each night of the week, they have hunters that go in and hunt down these nightmares. So they're basically these creatures, these horrific creatures like banshees, werewolves, vampires, things like that, that lurk in the forest and usually have boundaries, but werewolves, because they can shift, can actually leave the boundaries. So it's a really big deal if there's a werewolf. And she and her family, because her father ended up being a traitor and a spy, and when they found out about that, her family was outcasted. So her dad took off 4 years ago, and her family has been outcasted ever since because of her father's actions, which basically means that nobody looks at them, nobody talks to them, everybody basically pretends that they don't exist. And it sucks because they're like barely scraping by, and her brother has just kind of like a really, really low ranking, like secretary of a secretary kind of job that just sucks. And then her mom works at kind of the little diner in town and has like a couple of other odd jobs that she does just trying to make ends meet, where she used to be like one of the top hunters in the Wednesday clan. And so Winnie decides that because it is her 16th birthday, and in the month of their 16th birthday, the kids in this town can go in and compete in these trials and try to become a hunter. And so she has scoured the rules and found out that there's nothing that actually can stop her from competing in these trials to become a hunter. And so she does. She finds out that she is not anywhere near as prepared as she had thought she was in her mind. But she goes and she competes in these trials to try and become a hunter and basically try to get just kind of get things back on track for her family. And the first trial is to go in and kill one of the nightmares. And with that, she goes in, she faces the nightmares, and then things happen that aren't exactly according to her plan, but then things kind of spiral from there. And now she is having to confide in or ask for help from her ex-best friend, Jay. He is a couple of years older. He's one of the top hunters in the Friday clan. He's supposed to get to be like the top hunter of the clan before he's 18. So like he's like really, really high up there. And so she's having to kind of connect with him again and ask for his help to try and train and be a little bit more prepared for the rest of her trials. And so far, I like this book. I think it's interesting. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. It's obviously YA just for the fact that like she's talking about all the popularity at school and bullying at school and things like that, but it's what you'd expect from a YA book like this. I mean, of course, she's outcasted, so everybody treats her like shit to start with. And, you know, you kind of expect that when, you know, with her being 16. And then she's also noticing things with Jay that is just like, he's a lot different than I remember him being 4 years ago because they're both growing up. And so it's not, so far as of right now, it's not like an insta love kind of thing, but you can definitely tell that she's attracted to him, which she doesn't know what to think about that. And so far, I don't know, I like it. I like it. It's not like my favorite book of all time so far, but I'm definitely intrigued and I'm really curious to see where it's going to go. I'm not sure if this is a duology or a trilogy. Okay, so it looks like this is a trilogy. The third book is set to come out later on in November. This book is actually part of a trilogy, which I wasn't sure about that. And I don't know if when I finish it, if I will continue on in this series. But so far I am enjoying it. I'm really intrigued, like I said, to see what happens with this story, what happens with Winnie and Jay, and what other kind of nightmares that she's facing. So along with the fact that she is facing these trials, there is supposedly there is a werewolf that is out and about. She heard it howling. She saw it with her own eyes that first night with the trials. So she knows that it's out there. But she's also learned that there's something else that she's calling the Whisperer. It's kind of like a vision distorting mist kind of thing. And she doesn't know what it is. And nobody knows what it is that she's asked about it. But also people are really skeptical about it. And they don't really want to believe it, I guess. And so she just doesn't really know what to think because she's already on kind of thin ice as it is because of the fact that she was outcasted. And so she doesn't really know what to do, but she's kind of like just trying to make it through these trials, trying to hang on to what's happening around her. And so, yeah, I'm really intrigued so far. It's been really interesting. It's been a really quick read, which I kind of expected it would be. It's not a very long book. It's less than 300 pages. And so it's reading really quickly. The chapters are really short, but I am really enjoying it so far. And I'm really glad that I picked it up because I don't read very much YA anymore, but that doesn't mean I want to write them off entirely, you know? And I want to get back into some of those and just like really enjoy them. And so this one being just kind of like an interesting but a little bit straightforward fantasy is kind of nice because it's just really easy. It's not really specific. There's not a ton of like descriptions of characters and stuff like that. Like we don't really know a whole lot about Winnie herself. You know that she wears glasses. She's constantly having to push them up her nose, stuff like that. But you don't get a ton of description of the characters or really you get some descriptions of the setting, but it's just kind of like you're thrown in and you get to kind of imagine it for yourself. It's not really convoluted that way, but it is really interesting. I don't understand a whole lot about like the Luminaries clans. It's kind of gone into it a little bit with the fact that it talks about how like the first luminary or the first nightmare showed up in Italy and then they kind of have moved around to like different places, and then some showed up in America, and that's how the American Luminaries were formed, which is where she is at. So it's kind of interesting that there's all these different countries. They're all kind of interconnected. And so it hasn't gone into the history a lot, but the little tidbits that you get, I think are really interesting. And I'm excited to see if there's more of that shows up with her training more and learning more and stuff like that. So I am going to keep reading this today. I'm probably going to finish it because like I said, this is a really quick read. It's 6:30 in the morning. Nobody's up yet. My kids have off school today. It is a really quick read and I don't really have anything specific planned for today. So I'm probably going to be doing a lot of reading. So I'm going to keep reading this today and I will check back in with you when I have some final thoughts. Time for an update. So I just finished The Luminaries and I think I'm giving this 4 stars. I thought the writing was good. It was interesting. It was intriguing. There was definitely tension to try and see kind of what was going on and if Winnie would make it through the trials and what would happen in the meantime. And I'm really interested to see what happens in book 2. This one leaves off on a pretty decent cliffhanger that just makes you want to continue on and see what happens next. So I really like the relationship between her and Jay. It's something that they used to be friends 4 years ago before she was outcasted. And now it's like she doesn't really know where they sit together. So it's not insta-love, but it's just that like they used to have this friendship and now she doesn't know where they stand together. And she realizes that they're not just little kids anymore, which, I mean, they're 16, 17 years old, so they're still kids, but they're not like little kids anymore like they were before, 12, 13 years old. And so things are changing. And I thought the writing was fine. It was pretty basic for, you know, I mean, it is YA, so it was pretty generic. It wasn't anything fanciful or anything crazy like complicated, but I did enjoy it and I thought it was interesting. And so yeah, I'm really happy to say that I'm giving this 4 stars and I think I will continue on in the series. I thought this was really interesting and I really enjoyed it. I did like the side characters. Some of them were, they were pretty one note, but I liked the side characters fine, and I'm curious, like I said, to see kind of what happens with the family and what maybe secrets come up once she gets into the story a little bit more. Like I said, this isn't the best book that I've ever read in my entire life. It was good. It was interesting. It wasn't anything super groundbreaking or super spectacular, but I did enjoy my time with it and I had fun with it and it was a quick read. And so yeah, I'm happy to say that I'm going to give this 4 stars and I would like to continue on in the series. And so yeah, and not to mention the fact that this is officially my 75th book for the year. My Goodreads, I had a goal of 75 books. I set that because usually I read, for my TBR game, I choose 6 books a month. So I figured 6 and 12, 72, rounded out at 75. And so I got that with this book. I just hit 75 and it is not even October 1st yet, which yes, I did cheat a little bit having this one on my TBR. If I do read another book that has a skull on the cover, I will count that towards my October TBR instead of this one. But I did want to get a jump on this so that way I could get this vlog going. and not try and do too much in too little time. So I did start this one a little bit early, but it is not October 1st, and I've officially read 75 books this year, so that's very exciting. This is the most I've ever read in a single year. And so yeah, I've had a great time. And so I think, well, obviously the next book that I will be picking up is the Spellbook of Katrina Van Tassel. I am very, very, very excited to start that book. And of course, that's gonna mean that I'm gonna have to watch Sleepy Hollow as well, of course. And so I will be starting that one either later tonight or tomorrow morning. And so yeah, I will check back in with you once I start it and I have some initial thoughts for you. Alright everybody, it is time for an update. I have started the Spellbook of Katrina Van Tassel. I am up to 107 pages in it, chapter 18. And so far, I'm not 100% sure what to think of this book. I like it. I'm intrigued. I am interested. But this book has a strong case of insta-love. Katrina Van Tassel and Ichabod Crane know nothing about each other. He's just new to town and she's instantly attracted to him, and then it turns into, I'm gonna lose my virginity to you, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have kids, we're gonna live happily ever after. As soon as my dad says it's okay. So I do like it. I like the writing style. I think it's really easy to follow. I like that it has short chapters. Personally, I love short chapters in books because since I have 3 kids running around and I'm always stopping and going with my reading, it's really nice having those short chapters so that way I can have a good stopping point without being in the middle of a page and having to try and backtrack to find where I'm at. So I really like the short chapters. And like I said, it's really easy to follow. So far, it doesn't feel like a whole lot has happened. Ichabod Crane lives in Katrina Van Tassel's house when he first moves to Sleepy Hollow until he can set up some lodgings somewhere else. And in that time, she starts taking music lessons from him, and they fall for each other and whatnot. But other than that, it doesn't feel like a lot has happened. So it's a pretty slow moving book. But like I said, I like how it's written. It has like the old-timey classic feel without being difficult to understand and without actually being like an old-timey classic book, because this book is not that old. When did this book come out? Oh yeah, this book came out in 2018. So this book came out like 6 years ago. But I am really enjoying it. It just has it just has the vibes, like because of the way that they're talking and like the time, and with it being obviously Ichabod Crane and Katrina Van Tassel, like it just has the vibes, and I'm here for it. I am really enjoying that fact. I'm curious to see when things are going to start picking up and like what's going to happen next. This book is just over 400 pages, so I'm about a quarter of the way through right now. Like if you look at it like this, I'm about a quarter of the way through. I've got my little tab with where I want to get to today because I'm going to try and finish this book and get this video up for tomorrow. However, I might have to get it pushed off until Friday, depending on how things go. I'm trying to make sure that I get a video up, at least one video up every week, and I have some plans for videos on Tuesdays as well. But I'm really wanting to get all this done, but it's just a matter of having the time to actually sit down and read. So it is 9:50 right now, and I have to go to town between 1 and 1:30. I have to go to town. My son has a baseball game again tonight. It's his last game of the season, so we have that tonight, and I'm gonna have to pick them up from school. But I am going to try and read as much as I can of this. guys, so welcome to my car update wrap up for this video. Because it is 4:46 in the afternoon, I am sitting at the bus stop, but I did just finish the spell book of Katrina Van Tassel, which is the last book that I picked out for this vlog. So these are, I'll try and get it in the shade here. These are the 3 books that I picked out from Pinterest to read in this vlog. The first one that I attempted to read was You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I DNF'd this one 100 pages in. I didn't like the characters. I didn't care about what was happening with them. I don't know, I just didn't like it. So I DNF'd it at 106 pages, I believe. And so I didn't care for this one. But you know, that was just me. It kept saying over and over that she was a comedian, and yet you saw nothing for that, at least from what I read personally. I'm not rating this one because I don't rate them when I don't finish them. I don't think that that's accurate because things can change so much, but I just wasn't involved in this. If they started having a romance, like, I didn't care because I didn't like the characters, and that's why I stopped reading it. So I did not finish this one, so I'm not going to rate it. The next one that I finished was The Luminaries. This is by Susan Dennard. This is a YA, like, gothic fantasy type book where she is 16 years old and going through some trials to try and become basically a nightmare hunter, like a monster hunter. And this one was good. I definitely thought it could have been more complex. Like, it's YA, but I personally thought that it could have been more complex. There could have been more to it. But I was intrigued, and I did find it interesting. I did like the relationship between her and Jay in this book. I felt like it was a little bit more realistic, that they used to be friends, and then she was outcasted for 4 years, and he completely ignored her. And when they find each other again 4 years later because of these trials, she's more like, okay, I have feelings for you because I used to have a huge crush on you, but you were also an ass, and so I'm pissed at you, and so now I don't know what to think. And I liked that because, like, it's accurate, it's realistic. It wasn't like an instantaneous thing, like, oh my god, I'm so in love with you because you looked at me kind of thing. It was, there's some other shit going on here, you know, and I liked that. I thought that was a lot more realistic. It was also the fact that they went from being 12 and 13 years old to 16 and 17 years old, so they'd grown up a lot in that time. And your perspectives change a lot as you grow older and become, I mean, he starts becoming a man and she starts to become a woman, so that's just how life works, you know. So I did enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars, and I am curious to continue on in this series. I don't know when that will be, but I am curious to try it and see where it goes. And then last but not least, the one that we were all waiting for. I honestly didn't know if I would finish this book in time or not. I read about 260 pages today to finish this book for this vlog. I've been reading all day long, nonstop, as much as I could. And I did finish it, and I think that I am sitting at 3.5 stars. I thought this book was good, however, it was far too long, and Katrina Van Tassel's character drove me absolutely bonkers. She drove me nuts. Oh my goodness. So she is a young woman of marriageable age. You know, she's old enough to get married, and she meets Ichabod Crane and instantly falls for him. Instantly falls in love with him. And then he instantly falls in love with her. And then, against everything that she knows, that you're not supposed to sleep with anybody before you're married, you're supposed to have your virginity intact and whatnot. She throws that out the window and she sleeps with him. And then there's this whole deal about how he's going to ask for the father's permission and stuff like that. And of course he's going to say yes because he gives her everything that she's ever wanted. But he doesn't. He says no. And then Ichabod Crane disappears. And she thinks, oh my god, he left me. I don't know where he went. It must have been because my dad said no. So she marries somebody else. And like this whole book is either her being absolutely obsessed with Ichabod Crane or her being completely depressed and absolutely beside herself because of Ichabod Crane. And it was way too long. This book was 405 pages and it did not need to be this long. The first 120 pages, well, 120 to 150 pages of this book, give or take, was all about how in love with him she is, about them sleeping together and how obsessed with him and how good he is and this, that, and the other. 150 pages or 120 pages. It was a lot, guys. Like, it was a lot. And I was like, okay, move on with the story. Move on with the book. Let's get to where we're going here. And then once he disappears, like within... Okay, so he disappears on Halloween. By the first week of December, she's married to somebody else. So yeah, she was... Yeah. I thought the mystery was interesting when it actually talked about it, and that was good. I thought the atmosphere was really good. I thought the writing was done really well. It was definitely set way back in time, you know. So it was back in the 18th century, and you definitely get that atmospheric vibe, but it was still easy to understand and like follow the plot of the story, which I really appreciate, because if you get too technical on me, I lose interest and I don't care. So I really appreciated that. And like I said, I thought the writing was done well. I thought it was an interesting story. I liked the friendship with her and Charlotte. And I thought Charlotte's progression in the story, I thought that was interesting. But she drove me crazy. Katrina Van Tassel absolutely drove me crazy. I still want to go and watch Sleepy Hollow, which I probably won't be able to do until maybe tomorrow, because my husband doesn't like that movie. My husband doesn't like Tim Burton movies. For whatever reason, he just never gets into them. And so I still want to go and watch it. But this one, I was really disappointed. I felt like there were a lot of things that could have been done personally. I'm not entirely sure what, but I just felt like there could have been more to it. Because for having it be from a woman's perspective and like a feminist story and whatnot, it just felt like she did a lot of pining. And so I don't know. It was, like I said, it was just something about this that it just didn't sit right. So by the time we got like halfway through the book, like I didn't really care. It was just like, okay, move on, solve your mystery and be done with it, you know? So I don't know. I gave this one like 3.5 stars. Like I said, I thought the mystery was interesting. I thought the book was very atmospheric. I thought it was written well. And I thought it was an interesting take on the story, but I was really, I don't know, I had higher hopes for this one. So overall, this video really has been kind of ups and downs, because I had 3.5 star, a 4 star, and a DNF. So it's been kind of all over the board, but it was really fun to read some atmospheric books for the beginning of October and end of September, and I've really enjoyed it. So have you read any of these books? Have you felt similar to me, or did you have completely different thoughts? I know that obviously everybody has their own specific opinions, and everybody feels differently about their books. So if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more from me, please like, comment, subscribe down below, and I will catch you in whatever comes next. Bye.